As the mother moves, what happens to the baby in the womb? Does it have any way of knowing what is occurring outside?
And down, and lift, again.
New discoveries have brought an entirely new focus to the study of life before birth. Scientists now believe that the unborn child can actually hear, feel, and see. Is it possible that it can even think?
This series presents information based in part on theory and conjecture. The producer's purpose is to suggest some possible explanations, but not necessarily the only ones, to the mysteries we will examine.
There are few moments in the human experience as magical as the instant of birth. What influences has this baby encountered in 9 months? How aware was he of his surroundings? Will he remember his birth and life before birth? In 9 months, the unborn has traveled an enormous distance from a single fertilized cell to a complete individual. From the moment of fertilization, these minute cells will transform themselves into a human fetus. 200 million cells will eventually comprise this new person. A tiny heart beats strongly after only 4 weeks. Deep in the womb, and about the size of an adult thumb, a delicate cartilage skeleton begins to take shape at 5 weeks. While the physical growth of the fetus is astounding, a great deal of controversy still exists as to when human life actually begins. The fetus is physically complete after 12 weeks. Barely 3 inches long, it can move its head, squint, frown, and stretch its arms and legs. Between 3 and 6 months, the fetus grows to 8 inches inside these cramped quarters. Its fingernails can scratch its skin, and gender is obvious. At 18 weeks, when the bones are solid and the muscles strong, the baby can punch and kick its mother. Already the unborn wants to suck its thumb. Soft hair grows in the last 3 months. The senses develop. Eyes open and close, and it can hear and perhaps understand the mother's world. Everything that affects a pregnant woman influences her growing fetus. Dr. Kenneth L. Jones, director of the Birth Defects Clinic at the University of California, San Diego, describes the danger of drugs on the fetus during its most vulnerable period of growth.
It would appear that the first trimester of pregnancy, the first 3 months of the pregnancy, is the most critical time as far as the fetus is concerned, as far as most drugs and chemicals are concerned. And the reason for that is that that is the period when the organs are developing in the developing fetus and embryo. By the end of the first trimester, by the end of the 3rd month of gestation, the baby is completely formed. All the organs are formed. And after that, it really just is a process of growth and more development of the fetus. But all the organs are really formed by the time the fetus is 3 months old. So that time, that first 3 months of the pregnancy is most critical as far as most drugs and chemicals are concerned.
Despite these warnings, the average woman takes about 14 different drugs during pregnancy, although it is unclear what effect many of these chemicals have on the developing baby. These children were tragically deformed by the tranquilizer thalidomide, taken by many pregnant women in the late 1950s and early 1960s. There are other more commonplace agents that might harm the fetus. Drinking and smoking are a normal part of life. Now it is known that even in minimal amounts, smoking and drinking may have a detrimental effect upon the fetus throughout pregnancy.
We were asked to see a group of children, all of whom were born to chronically alcoholic women. And we found that the 8 children that we saw all had some very characteristic features which made them very similar. They were all very small at the time of birth, which is to say they failed to thrive inside their mother, presumably because that high alcohol content that she was drinking was getting through her bloodstream across the baby's placenta and into the baby's bloodstream, and it was affecting the growth of the baby in utero. Babies born to women who smoke during their pregnancy are smaller at the time of birth than babies born to women who don't smoke during pregnancy.
And obviously they
Dr. Thomas Verney, author of The Secret Life of the Unborn Child.
Now, for a long time we have known, of course, that there is physiological communication between the unborn child and the mother. We know that everything that the mother eats and drinks, alcohol, smoking, all these things, the nicotine, go right through the placental barrier. One researcher did an interesting study which went a little bit further than just what the mother eats. He asked several of the mothers who were habitual smokers to only think of having a cigarette. Just consider for a moment that you're going to light up. The moment that mothers just thought of having a cigarette, their unborn children immediately reacted to their thoughts as if they, in fact, were smoking up. Now, there is no physiological explanation for this. We know of no neurochemicals that are produced in a person when they just think of having a cigarette. So something else is going on here.
The fetus may be more aware of its surroundings than previously understood. At Cedars-Sinai Hospital, Dr. Calvin Hobel, Director of Obstetrics and Gynecology, comments.
There are indications and studies which suggest that the fetus can interpret its mother's feelings and how the mother feels about its fetus. If a mother is stressed and concerned about her pregnancy, and she can release hormones which influence the environment of the fetus. And I think that the fetus is in a position where it can interpret that type of information, which can have an effect on the fetus and its development.
New methods of monitoring the health and development of the fetus may relieve the usual anxieties that accompany pregnancy. Carol Jackson, one of Dr. Hobel's patients, is now in her 4th month and has decided to have a sonogram to be sure that her baby is healthy. On a television screen, she can see her baby move and actually count its fingers and toes.
A sonogram uses the principle of sound waves, much like sonar is used in the Navy to search for submarines in the ocean. Sound waves of this magnitude are very safe and do not harm the fetus.
Because Carol is 38 and has a family history of problem pregnancies, her doctor has also recommended amniotic testing. A hollow needle is carefully inserted through the abdomen into the amniotic sac that surrounds and protects the fetus.
In this fluid are cells that are exfoliated from the fetus into the amniotic fluid, and by taking a sample of the fluid and then in tissue culture in the laboratory, we can grow these cells and we can study their genetic components. Using this test, we can then identify that fetus which has abnormal chromosomes.
The test results indicate no Down's syndrome. Given a normal pregnancy, she will give birth to a healthy baby girl. Carol might wonder if her baby locked in the womb is aware and can feel. The fetus seems insulated from outside thoughts and feelings. However, new studies indicate that the unborn is capable of thought, emotion, and memory.
And lift. Again, keeping the knees over the toes. And bring it up.
There are a number of influences upon the baby that would surprise many pregnant women.
Once again. Good. You should be feeling it in the chest. Anybody?
Jane Fonda's workout is one of many health centers recognizing the benefits of well-planned exercise during pregnancy.
Up, 2, and down. Breathe.
Recent testing indicates that the baby, particularly during the later months in the womb, is very much aware of its mother's activities.
Last time, really lift. Now just let the heels hang straight.
Recently, it has been shown that by the age of 6 months, you can do electroencephalograms, which are brainwave studies of the unborn child. And that indeed, from these you can see that some of the time the unborn child is asleep, and some of the time he is awake. Furthermore, during the time that he's asleep, it can be shown that he has REM sleep, which is rapid eye movement sleep. And rapid eye movement sleep always or almost always connotes in adults dreaming. There is no reason to suppose that the same would not apply to the unborn child. So that what we have here in terms of the hard scientific data is proof positive that at least the neurological substrate is there on which memory can build, which really is the absolute foundation. Without that, I could not say that a child is an aware, sensing, feeling human being, as I am saying.
If the unborn baby has a memory, what kind of events could it recall? Dr. David Chamberlain of the Anxiety Treatment Center in San Diego has tried to find out. Through hypnosis, Linda Nickerson retraces her pre-birth experiences.
I'm in my mother, but we're in the house.
You're in your mother, but we're in the house.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. What part of the house are you in?
by the door, the front door.
By the front door? What's happening there?
My mom's laughing and we're going somewhere.
Uh-huh. She's laughing? And you're going somewhere?
Mm-hmm.
Is it just you and your mother together?
No, I think she's going somewhere with my father.
So the three of you are going off somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
How is it for you when your mother laughs?
It's nice. It's like, I can't explain it. It's just nice.
It's nice.
Makes me feel like a warm fuzzy or something. A little ball of
Uh-huh.
warmth.
Right, would it be all right with you to remember something unpleasant that happened in the womb? All right, when I touch your forehead, that memory will come to you. Something very unpleasant that happened while you were inside. Where are you now?
In the bedroom. My mother's crying. And she's really upset. Everything seems dark. Feels... She keeps shaking and it makes me shake. And I keep wanting it to stop, but it won't.
All right, why don't you come forward now? And this time when I touch your forehead, let it be the time that you are actually being born. Be there now.
The doctor's putting his hands on my temples. And I don't want him to do that because I want to do it by myself. Now he's pulling me out. And I feel kind of scared.
Scared?
Well, it feels real different. It's kind of cold.
cold.
Yeah, because I'm all wet. And then the doctor brings me over and he lays me on my mother's stomach.
Lays you on your mother's stomach?
Mm-hmm.
How's that?
It's nice.
Adele Miller, Linda's mother, is surprised by the accuracy of her daughter's recollections.
When I think back about the birth, when she was born, I thought of it as an experience that I had. And now I find out it's an experience we both had. It's one we both shared.
You have to appreciate the fact that in the normal operation and economy of the mind, we're always storing things. We're always filing away old experiences. This is simply the way we're built. We don't have immediate memory of everything that ever happened to us. We file it away. Naturally, things that happened long, long ago are kind of filed away the deepest. And it takes a little more work to get back to them. They are there. They are somehow recorded by the mind and held. And you have to go to a bit of effort to get at that. But hypnosis is the very best means that I know of for uncovering that material. But it's not the only means. Some people remember their birth without any help at all.
An opposing view is voiced by Dr. Elizabeth Loftus, psychologist at the University of Washington, Seattle, and author of Memory.
There is a widespread belief that everything we ever experience is stored in the mind, and even if we can't get at it, potentially we could, if we could hypnotize a person or if we could electrically stimulate their brain in some way. But I have examined the evidence for this proposition, and I find there is absolutely no good evidence for the idea that everything we ever experience is stored in the mind. In fact, it seems more likely to me that some of our memories undergo transformations or alterations or distortions because of suggestions that come in later, and that original memories are no longer there.
There is a lot of evidence that babies, even in utero, are able to understand what's going on, whether they happen to understand that language or not. Somehow they get the message.
To many, the difficulty and pain of childbirth is as traumatic for the baby as it is for the mother. Natural childbirth to some is one of the means of making the first breath of life more gentle. This class teaches the father to assist the mother during labor and delivery.
Pelvic rocking is real important for pregnancy because there's so much stress in the lower back. This helps to bring the baby up out of the pelvis.
After much consideration, Kim and Bob Haley have allowed In Search Of to film this most extraordinary event, the birth of their first child. Sally Berman, trained nurse midwife, assists at their side. Bob coaches Kim throughout the entire birth. The Bradley method of natural childbirth employs unusual procedures, including standing and squatting, to oxygenate the baby and move it into position. Dr. Misha Askren will deliver the baby. Emergency equipment is concealed, preserving the home-like feeling. What you're about to see is an actual natural birth, using no drugs.
Real good. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, beautiful. Yes.
Okay, now a little bit more. Okay.
After 10 hours of labor, a healthy baby boy, Morgan, is born. We have not solved all the mysteries of life before birth, and the debate as to when life begins continues. But for the first time, we know the dimension of feeling and perhaps memory that's passed from mother to child. Kim Haley.
During the whole pregnancy and through the whole 9 months, everything you're doing is for this little baby and giving them the chance to start out the right way. It was just I'm sure, the most choice moments that I'll have in my life.
When does life before birth really begin? Dr. Jeffrey Phelan, a family practitioner and spokesman for the Right to Life organization, comments.
My view and the view of contemporary biology on when life begins is that life begins with fertilization. When the sperm and the egg come together, from that point on, the human being is genetically complete. Everything that makes up a human being, the hair color, the eye color, the type of fingerprints, is determined at that time, at the time of fertilization.
Dr. Hugh Anwill, director of the Los Angeles chapter of Planned Parenthood.
We haven't really defined when human life begins. Does it begin in the coming together of the sperm and the egg? Is it something that is there when birth takes place? My own view is that it's somewhere in the later stages of the pregnancy.
The issue is extremely sensitive and volatile. The Supreme Court has declared the mother now holds the right to terminate her pregnancy, in many cases up to 24 weeks. The court, however, did not address itself directly to the question of when does life begin. Meanwhile, the controversy continues.
I think the important thing really in the final analysis to remember is that the unborn child, certainly from the 6 months on, is a sensing, feeling, aware human being and capable of laying down memory tracks. Consequently, he or she will really have to be treated with much more love, much more caring, much more respect than it has been our practice in the past.